All right, chat. We are here. We're at the watch party. They're on Twitch right now. I think you can just go on twitch.com/. I think if you just go into the Skull and Bones category, you'll find Ubisoft streaming. Their handle for their YouTube, because I'm pretty sure they're also streaming on YouTube. So their handle is in the description. So make sure you subscribe to them. I know I probably have to cover another basis, just to cover my own butt. But I made sure I put them in the tag, in the description for sure. But this should be pretty good. Should get some pretty good information. I'm super excited. I am super excited. I said there's gonna be a camera on, but there's no camera on. Even though I should, right? Nah, I'm gonna just leave it off. I'm gonna just leave it off. I'll make sure I put this in the information tab so people can watch it. Let me see here. Should be some pretty good stuff. What are we going to get? Bam, 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 bam. Yeah, those colors look really good. Make sure we get all of this. Those colors are really nice looking. Make sure you go to their Twitch, the Ubisoft official Twitch page. They're giving out drops. For those that might see this later, the Twitch drops were only during this live. Here we go.
And we are live. Hi, everyone. Hi, Chad. How are we doing? We are back with our live stream. Someone just mentioned in the chat that the last stream was 7 weeks ago. Yes, and we are back with our first stream in 2026. I hope you guys had great holidays. Happy New Year. So this is going to be a lot of like chill stream because I have an amazing guest that I'm sure you guys all missed very, very much. Hi, Alexi.
Hello, everyone. Uh, Thanks for welcoming me back. It's been a while, so happy to be back and looking forward to answer as many questions as we can.
Yeah, it's very nice to have you with us. So during the last stream, a lot of people in the chat were asking actually, where is Alexi? And I let them type Alexi come back. So I think we summoned you today. All right, so Alexi, what are we going to talk about today?
So we have quite a lot to talk about, actually. We want to go over the letter from the producer that we published just yesterday or this morning, depending on where you are in the world. Just going over what happened in season 3, what are the key learnings, what are the things we are
Matter of fact, I am going to turn
try
my
to
camera on.
address moving forward, and potentially also through your questions give you a bit of a tease about what's going to come after season 4.
Yep. And also we have another new guest today that's helping us to play the game. Hi, Neo. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing fine.
So this is our senior lead artist that's first time on the stream. So Chad, please be nice to the Neo. Neo, what are you going to show us today? What kind of gameplay?
I'm gonna test some toxic torpedo and Langang build. Shout out to Captain GTI.
And actually, I think Captain GTI is in the chat at the moment. So shout out, Captain, to you.
Hello, Captain.
All right. So I think we can dive right into it. So Alexi, how the year 2 season 3 was so far?
Overall, I think we're pretty happy with how it went. Season 3 was quite an important season for us. So we released the Super War, first of all, which, I mean, we're very happy with the reception of the Super War. I do want to shout out to all of our insiders because Super War was fine-tuned very heavily before the release based on the feedback we received from them. So we feel like the fine-tuning really helped us find the good balance to make the Super War feel powerful enough that it's fun to play, but not overpowered so that all the other ships become irrelevant. So yeah, I know there's a lot of insiders in the chat, a lot of keepers in the chat, so thank you very much for the feedback. We very much want to continue working that way moving forward for all the future ships to make sure we find the right balance to make them as fun as possible, but not necessarily make all the other ships irrelevant. Besides the Super War, we obviously released Faction War as well, which was a big feature for us. It took us a little bit longer than we had initially planned to release it for various reasons. I know there's a lot of questions on Reddit and on Discord about how Faction War went, so we'll talk about it a little bit more later on. We also released Armor Ascension, which basically came to complete Weapons Ascension and allow you to ascend your armor, as the name explains it. And then we also have a pretty big update before the holiday season with 3.1 when we release a lot of quality of life updates, which once again, all the quality of life improvements are heavily influenced by the community feedback. So thank you very much for sharing your feedback on Discord, on Reddit, and helping us identify areas of improvement so that we can make your experience better when you play the game. What else? We also had the seasonal hub. We had the seasonal journey, which are also like a new way for us to kind of regroup a lot of information within the same space in the game, but also give you new ways to kind of like progress through the game and improve your progression in the game. So seasonal journey in particular is something I'm quite excited to mention. I don't want to talk about it too much because it's something that we are looking at very closely to continue to improve in the future. So yeah, not too much information here. It's not coming for season 4, but there'll be a lot of cool things coming as part of the seasonal journey.
Yeah, thank you so much for this recap. And then for season 4, this was the launch of the Faction War, right? And we presented as our new end game, like a first founding layer for the Faction War. And what kind of feedback you've seen so far, and what you can tell us, what's been addressed, what's going to be addressed in season 4 and maybe in the future?
Yeah, so looking about the feedback of Faction War, it's quite we were quite happy with how it went in general, because we can definitely say that there's two sides of the feedback. There's the initial feedback we received when we started talking about Faction War and when Faction War was first released. I think there's a lot of excitement about the potential of Faction War as a new end game for people to kind of like choose a side and compete against each other, being a community-driven event as well. I think I think as a new in game that comes in kind of like revamps what was the Ham Empire as an in game in a more active way for players to engage in activities and play the game. I think it's very exciting. I think it's also using some of the factions that are already in the game, which players, a lot of players are fans. Usually, like we see a lot of people commenting about how much they love the Huback twins, for example. So it's quite interesting to see how people like the idea of faction war and are very excited about participating in faction war for new rewards and potentially new activities. Then, of course, we also saw a lot of feedback about some of the things that are not working so well. A lot of players are really eager to see new activities being brought to the game so that they can engage in new kind of activities and not just repeat the same activity over and over, which makes sense, of course. We also see a lot of feedback about some of the systems that are not perfectly fine-tuned, like the hostility, which is something we're working on to improve, etc. So yeah, we can talk about it a little bit more. There's a lot of things to say. We also know that players want more rewards, of course, because obviously some of you play a lot and you play, you burn through the content a lot faster than we can anticipate. So of course, once you have all the rewards, it's hard to find new reasons to keep engaging with the activities. So we are looking at all these things and making sure there are more reasons brought to Faction War in the future for you to stay engaged with the feature.
This is good. This is good.
And
Honestly.
get rewarded for your efforts and make sure you find all the
being
content that you
rewarded for
bring as
playing
fun and
long
engaging as
hours. I mean, that's always a good thing.
And as we've mentioned in
Whether
all
you
the dev blogs
PvP or
regarding the Faction
PvE.
War, the dev diaries, that this is the future that's going to be evolving like along with the community feedback. It's not like we're just like launching this and it's all good and we play, but it's this continuous kind of process where we get the feedback, refine, fine tune, and make
Right.
something that's the end game for Skull and Bones. And I think I want to jump to the actual questions now while
Sure.
we are on the topic of the Faction War. Let me just find a bit. Yes, Faction War. So I think a lot of people are actually asking the new factions. When is it coming? If we can tease anything at the moment.
So I can't really say when precisely. We're not quite ready yet to commit on a definitive date for new factions. But it is something we want to bring to Faction War in the future for sure. Right now, you're very used to the French company versus the DMC,
Right.
which are essentially our two biggest factions in the game right now, right? But there are other factions in the game that we can potentially leverage in the future, and we know, like I mentioned before, there are specific factions or specific antagonists in the game that could potentially play a part in the Faction War in the future.
Okay.
And of course, there are things that are present in the game to some extent at some point, but not omnipresent in the game, that we also want to potentially bring in and make a more important part of the Faction War in the future. So not giving you a date at the moment, but we'll talk about it as soon as we can.
Okay.
Yep. But I think we can confirm that for season 4, it's going to be.
So for season 4, it's essentially going to stay the same. So one thing I want to say about Faction War, and it's not easy to explain, but it's important for everybody to really understand, is that Faction War, as it is a new feature, new content in the game, new end game. But it's essentially based on a lot of features and systems that are already existing in the game, right? Reusing the factions, of course, reusing some of the activities that were already present and existing in the game, but also reusing some of the systems like the hostility feature. So when we introduced Faction War, it was very important for us that we make sure that all those systems work together well without breaking other aspects of the game. Hostility is a perfect example. Because when you play Faction War, obviously it's a different kind of hostility, and we've seen a lot of comments from players saying that it's a bit weird that when you choose a side, you can still technically get the hostility up on the faction of your side, which is a consequence of the fact that the hostility rule is already in the game and impacts other elements of the game as well. So we are playing with the hostility rule. There's going to be a lot of improvements to hostility in Season 4, but it's very much something we want to fine-tune slowly to make sure we don't break other aspects in the game.
Okay.
And that's why for Faction War we are taking it slow. It's intentional. But in the future, once we feel like all the systems are really functioning well with each other, then that's when we'll start thinking about bringing new content to the Faction War.
Definitely. And I see in the chat, and I think these kind of questions were popping up before, that players feel that the artificial feeling of the Faction War of the results of the outcome, and which is not true. But I hope you can kind of like share more about the behind the scenes and logic.
Yeah,
And
so the funny thing about this, because we've seen a lot of comments, and we try to address it as much as possible, but we are, so first thing I can guarantee you, promise you, we are absolutely not playing with the results and cheating the results at all. Um, I think the reason why it feels that way is because we actually have a lot of people participating in Faction War, which means that the scores are quite big, which is why on a personal level you don't necessarily always feel like you're contributing that much. But also, like, for a very long time, Faction War was very, very balanced in terms of like the different factions, right? It's only towards the end that one faction really earned a huge advantage over the other. So we guarantee you there's no tinkering with this. But one thing we do want to look at and improve in the future is kind of like giving you different kind of activities and different ways for you to really see how much you contribute to the faction war. So you can
Oh,
really see
okay.
based on like how you play the game and based on what you do as a group, as a community,
Okay.
has a real impact, and then you will see that it's the direct results of your activities.
Yep. And while we are still on the faction war topic, there was a question. So we had a thread for the questions on Reddit on Discord, and one of the questions that we got was, will you be changing the format of the faction war in the future so the community isn't fighting against each other anymore?
So yeah, that's something we've seen as well in terms of feedback. Pretty much since the moment we announced what Faction War was and how it was going to work, right? A lot of you feel like taking a side is not really a parity thing to do, which we agree and it makes sense. But like I said, at the moment, it's very much about making sure the Faction War and its systems work within the game.
Okay. Yeah.
And in the long-term future, we are looking at options for you to basically not have to take a side if you don't want to take a side. So I can't say too much right now because it's more like an idea and a long-term plan. But eventually, that's the long-term objective of Faction War, is that it's not just taking a side, joining one faction. It's potentially, having your own faction or building your own side, basically.
Mm-hmm. And actually, I see the comment in the chat saying, even if the sides were balanced, it all depends on the ratio of each team as they're participating at any given time. And actually, I think since the faction war launch, what we've seen on the behind the scenes data, that actually the split was pretty even.
Yes.
The daily tracks showed us this, and I hope we can find a ways to actually show it to the community.
Yeah, so I also think we need to give a big shout out to Sky and Bones Tools. I know we give a shout out to him quite often, but he's doing an amazing job on like giving you information that's coming straight to the game, from the game, sorry. A lot of it is him actually going in the game, getting information, taking screenshots and providing him on the website. We are working very as closely as we can with him to try to help him and provide information as possible. So for Faction War, we were quite happy that he could actually leverage one of our game API directly to get the data directly from the game, which allowed him to get all these statistics on the website, which I think is pretty amazing.
It's pretty dope.
And we are looking at collaborating closer and closer with him so that we can find synergies between the game and the website, and try to give him the credit that he deserves, because he's doing an amazing job.
Yeah, he is doing an amazing job, really. And also, I've seen the comments about the Faction War leaderboard or ranking that would kind of help us to address the situation. Do you have any?
Yeah. So that's something we've seen as well in terms of feedback, and something we want to do. I would say more like in midterm, long term. We do agree that having more information about either through a form of leaderboard or a form of a score or whatever, so that when you participate in Faction War, you can see, okay, this is how you've contributed to the overall results of the Faction War. So that's something we're looking at, for sure.
Yeah, hopefully we see it in a year 3. So I think to wrap up the Faction War section a bit, just to sum up what's coming in Season 4, what we have is the tutorial control, right? We've covered that the map gonna make way more sense than in Season 3. The Hostility 2.0, anything else new that's coming to Faction War Season 4?
I mean, we're also looking at rewards, right? So I'm not sure if everybody knows that the rewards from this season Faction War, from the next season onwards, if you are participating in the next season Faction War, you'll be able to obtain, basically to buy the rewards from the previous season. So no matter which side you were on, if unfortunately you're on the losing side and you feel like you didn't get to get all the rewards, next season you'll be able to purchase those rewards from the faction broker.
Oh, that's
so
sick.
That's again something we've heard from the community. Like, we still want to make sure that there's a reason for you to kind of like play
the
more
game,
and play
right.
harder to win the faction war to get the rewards. but we also want to make sure that nobody feels left out because
Left out.
unfortunately
Okay.
their side has lost. So in the future, you'll get the possibility to obtain all the rewards that you may have missed out on the previous season.
All right. So I think now we can move to the next section, which is Armor Ascension. Can you talk about this? That what changes we made in season 3 so far?
So Armor Ascension was essentially continuing the journey that we started in year 2 with Weapon Ascension. So, I mean, the name says it all. It's the idea is to allow you to strengthen your armor and to continue to increase your ship rank and be basically more resistant in the game to any new world event that we introduced. We are sorry. Yeah, I should probably mention we also we've heard the feedback from the community for a very long time about the amount of RNG that's involved in item ascension in general as a feature. So that's something we are really trying hard to address. Right, we don't want to remove RNG completely because we still think it's important for players to feel like they have to work to obtain the best weapon. Right, we don't want everybody
Right.
to log in and
Just get
I'm
it.
exaggerating a bit, but instantly get the
Right,
best
right,
weapon in
right.
the game without any effort. So we do think a bit of energy is important, but we understand the frustration that comes with trying really hard to roll the perk you want on your favorite weapon, and then you don't get the perk you want, and then you lose that weapon, and maybe that weapon is not available in the game at the moment, so you have to wait until the next time it's available. We understand how this whole loop creates a lot of frustration. So we are working on a lot of things. We have increased the number of rerolls available already. And in the future, we are trying to fine-tune the system so that to increase your chances of actually getting the role that you are hoping for.
Yep. And so we've mentioned in our letter that we've mentioned the Mythic mods before, and then the name is subject to change. And we
Yes.
tested this during the workshop that we had that we're going to touch on later a bit. But is there anything you can touch on
So
this?
actually, yeah. So Mythic mods technically was scheduled to happen in season 4. But we had the insider program. We heard a lot of feedback that even though the feature is very interesting and appealing to most people, it's also bringing a new level of power in the game that most of my insiders felt like the game is not really ready for. So we also heard that feedback a lot, right? So for a lot of you who've played the game a lot, you've achieved a certain level of power in the game that makes most of the content, even in World Tier 2, a little bit too easy. So obviously that's not the case for everybody. If you're still beginning with the game, if you're new, World Tier 2 is still challenging. But once you have all the best weapons, the best modifications, you can actually achieve a level of power that's quite, I want to say, a little too comfortable. So before we bring a new system on top of the item ascension with Mythic mods, which will essentially make players even more powerful, we want to look at what new challenges we can bring to the game so that once you get that Mythic mods, you still have some level of difficulty in the game. So that's why we made the decision to delay the release of Mythic mods, but it's also giving us a bit more time to fine-tune the mechanic and make it as good as it can be.
All right. And if we can touch a bit more of the quality of life updates that we released in season 3, and if anything else is coming in season 4 at the moment.
So I need to remember exactly what we released in season 3.
I think filter tabs, I think, was like the
Yes.
the 3.1
Yeah,
update.
so I know there's still a lot of questions in the chat as well and on Reddit about warehouse space and things like that. So warehouse space it's been a
Yeah.
big topic since year 1, pretty much, right? And we know that with item ascension, it's essentially made the problem worse because a lot of you are basically holding on a lot of weapons that you want to try to roll perks on later on, and that takes a lot of space in the warehouse because once they are ascended, you can't stack them anymore, which increase the problem. So I know the easy solution would be just increase warehouse space, right? And we've done that a couple of times. I think year 1 you were limited to 200 slots, then we went to 250, then 300. Now I think we're at 500. It's gonna be an ongoing problem, right? The more space we give you, the more space you're gonna use for more weapons, etc., etc. So I think more than increasing warehouse space, what we're looking at is how can we alleviate the issue, which is basically adding new features to the game to help you better filter your items, make it easier for you also to find the items you're looking for. So filters is one step into that direction. We also know recently there was a community poll started by one of our keepers. I don't know if I should mention his name. But it was very helpful for us because we also saw very clearly that a lot of you are looking for a search feature in the game, right? So I don't want to promise anything, but it's something that we are looking at very carefully. It's not as straightforward as it seems. It's not as simple as just adding a search tab. But if we can implement these kind of features in the future to help you manage your inventory a little bit easily, that's something we want to do for sure.
Yep. So that was like a recap of season 3 and a lot of feedback that we've received and the ways that we are trying to address them. But now moving to the new season, to
Yes.
to season 4. I think we can kind of tell them the launch date at the moment. Are we ready?
I don't know. Do you want to say? I feel like if I say it, I'm going to jinx it.
Okay,
Go.
guys.
Come on.
I think I can say it.
Go
So,
for it.
guys, February the 10th is the launch date on
Yes.
the new season 4, and we've been teasing a lot about it actually on our social media pages at the moment. And 100%, we've already shared that the Corvette is coming, right? And the greatest and the biggest challenge that's coming as well.
Yes.
In season
Kraken.
4 that we will share more information on next week. But I think for now we can focus on the Corvette and
Yes.
actually a little bit of exclusive sneak peek to those who joined us for this live stream is the Corvette perks. I think we want to share the screenshot while Alexi is telling us a bit more on the Corvette.
Yes. So I'm going to be careful not to say anything wrong here because I'm obviously not the designer who designed the Corvette.
Oh man.
But based on what I understand, the Corvette is essentially designed to be not just a DPS ship,
Need
but
that.
also a support ship. So what it means essentially is that as a second launch ship in the game, it's not going to play the same as the Frigate. It's going to be a little bit more agile, a bit more
Okay.
faster, a
Yeah.
little bit better at dealing DPS, of course, but also amplifying DPS for your allies. Which means that every time you hit a target, basically, you'll stack up a status effect that will amplify the damage that's done by you and your allies. And it works in the other way as well, because it also applies to your teammates who are healing. So you can amplify the healing of your teammates by playing the Corvette. So it's really meant to be a ship that obviously specializes in DPS, but not necessarily direct DPS, just DPS from you and your allies. And once again, shout out to our insiders. We've been playtesting this through our insider program. We've got some feedback from our insiders, so we've done some fine tuning, some adjustments, and hopefully we'll be able to ship the Corvette in its best possible situation. And that, we hope the community is going to enjoy it because I think it's a very sexy ship.
Yeah, I think so far, like all the comments that we're getting are players are really excited on the Corvette.
Yeah,
so
I
you
can't
guys
wait.
can
That's gonna be sick.
get your hands on it starting February the 10th. All right. So I think now we can talk a bit about the workshop that happened. And if any information on the year 3 that you can share.
Yes. So how do I start? So year 3. So the first thing, obviously, is that we can definitely confirm that year 3 is very much in the works, in progress, and it's coming. Again, I don't want to promise a launch date because we still have a lot of work to do. But the important message here is that every year, and this year is no exception, we try to invite some of our super engaged members of the community. So we try to select people from the insider program. You may have heard of them. We call them the keepers of the code. Some of them have been there for years. Some of them are fresh recruits. We invite them over to the studio. And the idea is we talk to them about our high-level plans, right? We have an idea of which direction we want to take with the game, which is 90%, I want to say, if not 100%, based on what we see the community get excited about or what are things they want. And what we do is basically we try to build a roadmap that will, as much as possible, try to address community concern and bring content to the game that answers what the community wants the most. In order for us to kind of validate our plans, we try and invite those people to the studio, present to them the high-level vision, and then we sit down, we listen to them, and we talk about how to fine-tune it, what are the things we should be careful about, and obviously make sure that we are aligned with what they think the community wants the most. So I feel like the good news is that even though I can't share the plans, I can't share the details, I think this year we've been pretty spot on when it comes to the roadmap and the alignment. There's of course things we need to adjust and be careful of. There's never a perfect plan. But I feel like they were pretty excited about what we had to present, and I can't wait to share that more openly with the rest of the community, who hopefully will resonate as well as the keepers with our plans.
Yeah, and while we are talking about the the plans and the future of the game, I think I want to
Oh,
slowly
that
move
makes
to the
sense.
section of Q&A. So the answer to questions that we've pre-collected from the threads. And I think when it comes to the future of the game, the question that we got is, so the person says, I know it probably won't get answered, but I'd love a real talk answer to the question of how committed Ubisoft is to this game and for how long.
Yes, I'm sure there's a lot of people in the chat who are curious about that. So obviously, most of you probably know there was a lot of news about Ubisoft in the recent week. I can't really talk about this specific news because that's way beyond my scope. What I can say is that we've had a lot of discussions with Ubisoft headquarters. Like I said, we had the workshop where they keep us, so we're very much focused on the next year of Skull and Bones and beyond that. And we have full support from our headquarters about this. So we're not slowing down. We are doubling down on like really making Skull and Bones a game that is driven by the community for the community. Feedback is more important than ever. Yeah, it's a game that we want to drive towards what it's always meant to be, based on what our players want it to be. So we have the full support on this, and yeah, no change on our roadmap as
Yeah.
far as we're concerned.
And a lot of questions actually were about the year 3 information. I think while we are not ready to share all the roadmap and the details yet, I think let's go through the season 4 first. And then I think closer to year 3, we'll share more information and more sneak peeks with you guys. All right, so I think I'll move to more questions. And I think the land combat status questions coming in every stream. And we've been addressed this already, but if you can mention anything on the current status of the land combat.
Yes, so I think what we said last time about land combat is essentially that as much as we would have liked to bring land combat to the game in year 2, and that was very much our plans and our roadmap, we also identified very soon that land combat would have been an element to the game that adds a different kind of activity to the game. So it's not necessarily something that would have added a lot to the core gameplay loop of what the game is currently, which is very much focused on naval combat. It's something we did want to bring, but at the same time, we also identified that since most of our players currently enjoy naval combat, our focus should remain on naval combat first. So from that standpoint, we made the decision basically that we should continue to focus on naval combat first. And that's why we made the tough decision to kind of put land combat and the development of land combat on hold. So that we can really double down on naval combat first. So what that means in a few words, essentially, right now we're not working on land combat. It's completely on hold. We are focusing on naval combat. We are focusing on endgame. We're focusing on faction war, focusing on bringing new ships every season, making sure the game remains challenging for our super engaged players who have progressed a lot in the last almost 2 years of Skull and Bones. And if we have the opportunity to revisit land combat in the future, of course we will, but that's not on the roadmap at the moment.
Yep. So the naval combat is the focus for our year 3, and then the core
Alright,
gameplay experiences. And continuing on the questions that are being asked continuously about the map expansion. Any news? Any comments on this one for now?
So map extension is kind of a similar thing. We know the community is really eager to discover new areas in the game. Obviously, sailing is a big part of our game, so being able to sail to a new area and discover new landscape is obviously something very exciting, something we'd love to bring to the game as well. Some of you might know that there are areas that are technically in the game at the moment. They're just not accessible and not playable. They were initially part of the map design, right? Like the Indian Ocean was supposed to be the full Indian Ocean. However, it's the same thing. It requires a tremendous amount of work to create new regions in the game, to make sure those new regions don't feel empty as well. So make sure there's new factions, new outposts, new pirate dens, potentially new characters, new narrative, etc. So it's not just open up the map and that's it. And for the same reason, as much as we want to bring it, we know it's not. We don't believe it's what the game needs the most at the moment. What the game needs the most at the moment is essentially making sure the core gameplay loop is as engaging as possible. That is always something new and fresh to discover. So that's why we've been adding a lot of new sea monsters and new world events, new world event activities, new end game. We are very much focused on improving the core systems of the game, essentially. But likewise, if one day we feel like it's a good time for us to open up the map and bring a new region, and we have a strong reason for us to do that, right? And it needs to be an area where people feel like it's not just go there, discover it once, and then go back and do the same activity over and over again. It needs to bring something fresh to the game. So we revisit that when we feel like we're ready to to offer that to our players.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll share more information when there's an update on the status of these two features that we've just talked about. But talking about the closer future, the near future, talking about the year 2 season 4 again, the question that we had was, is there any kind of serious in-game content coming with season 4? Something that offers substantial rewards while being really challenging at the same time?
So we touched on this a little bit at the beginning. Our end game is essentially Faction War, right? So we want to continue improving the core mechanics of Faction War. For those of you who've been around for a while, we also know we previously had another end game that was basically the Helm Empire. So our focus right now is making sure the Helm Empire and Faction War work together, right? So there's going to be some improvements made to make sure that what you do in through your Helm Empire connects well with the Faction War. There's going to be a few new activities as well coming to Faction War, but essentially our focus right now is improving the core mechanics. So we mentioned at the beginning improving hostility, and yeah, making sure that it works well. But when it comes to new end game, the focus is Faction War. So yeah.
Do you think we can kind of confirm on release of the biggest challenge? Because we're revealing it, I think, this Sunday to the bigger audience.
Go for it.
Because a lot of questions are being asked about the Kraken.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think we can say, yes, Kraken is coming in season 4. And more information to be shared. We've already kind of actually teased, and people were like, is Godzilla coming? What is this?
It's not Godzilla.
It's not Godzilla. It is the Kraken. And we'll share more information next week, leading to the launch of the game. So we hope you're guys all excited about that. And if we're moving to the next question, I think we've already kind of like mentioned the warehouse, and the question was, well, when will be the warehouse size be doubled, and if there are any plans on this one?
So at the moment, we're not planning to double it. Like I said at the beginning, our focus is more about improving the way the warehouse works. Once we're done with all the possible ways we can think of to do that, and we see it's still an issue, then maybe we'll consider improving the warehouse space. But we very much feel like improving the warehouse, increasing the warehouse space. Sorry, is
We
going
ran
to be a
into another problem,
never-ending
pretty much.
thing. We can keep increasing it, but eventually, as we keep adding new items to the game with every season, it's always going to be an issue. So we need to find better ways for you to feel like it's still something that requires you to work a little bit to manage your warehouse space, but it's as easy and convenient as possible for you to move items around, get rid of items you don't need. The salvaging, for example, is a feature that we can rely on to allow you to kind of get rid of some items without necessarily losing those items and get some materials back in exchange. No, we can do a lot of things, so we're working on that.
Yeah, but I think you need to keep in mind that all the changes to this will roll out gradually,
Yes.
not all at once. So moving to the next question, I think I've seen this question in the chat just around 5 minutes ago. Are there any plans to increase our fleet size to more than 40 ships?
I want to say yes, but I wouldn't say it's yet a confirmed plan. So it's a topic. Actually, it's a topic that was brought up a lot during the workshop with our keepers of the code, because we are obviously going to continue adding new ships to the game, and we know that the limit can be a bit frustrating, especially when a big part of your fleet is assigned to your Helm Empire for the collection of your pieces of weight. We know that players want to have more ships that they can play with. They want to have more ships with specific loadouts so they can switch from one ship to the next. So there's a lot of things we're improving as well on planning to improve at least on that front to make it easier for you to have more ships, have more loadouts available so that you can swap easily and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Moving to the next question, I think there's a whole section about the Helm Empire. So the question was, will the Helm upgrade tree be extended? Will there be level 6 or 7 of the manufacturers?
So on this, the answer is not really, and that's essentially what I was saying earlier. We are working on basically linking the Helm Empire feature to our Faction War. So we're not necessarily improving Helm Empire as a feature as it is. Instead, we're focusing on linking it to the Faction War. That being said, it doesn't mean that in the future we can't continue to improve the Helm Empire feature as a feature, but the priority is on making it work together with Faction War.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to pause here a bit for the questions that we've pre-collected, then pay attention to our chat. How's the chat doing? How are we doing? I think we're halfway through our stream. Are the drops working? How are we doing? How is the mood? Are you guys happy that Alexi is finally back?
I'm glad that I got my
Let me
drop.
just go through the chat. Was there any questions that you've seen in the chat that you want to address? Actually, can we
my
just take a
drops.
moment to appreciate Neo's gamer tag? That's a light.
Appreciate what? Oh,
That's light,
Neil's gamer
that's
tag.
lit.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, my Hipa nuggets are back.
I have an answer for the 7.
Oh,
by the way.
really? You
Yes,
got it,
but I don't know
okay.
if I should say it.
To give a little context on this, during the last stream with Sam, a lot of people were asking about the T's for the year 3, for the future, and all Sam told us was 7 is a good number. And a lot of chat people are asking about it. So let Alexi decide if he.
So I want to say it without saying it. So what I can say is it has to do with the number of letters for things that are yet to come to the game in both year 2 season 4 and year 3 season 1. But I won't say anything more than that.
Okay, so it's the number of letters. Chat, type your guesses.
Number of
in the chat,
letters? That's a
and,
month.
We'll see who was right. Was I right? ETA.
No, it's not the BTA.
Definitely
Sorry.
no. But it doesn't exclude the possibility of coming it in year 3, right? We
No
don't know.
comment.
All right. Okay, I think I want to go back a bit to the pre-collected questions. So when it comes to the game economy, Alexi, what plans do we have for people with lots of PoE? Something like store, but for a large amount of it.
So that's a very, very good question. We are not planning to add another store for Pieces of 8. I think the question is more about like what are the new features that we will bring to the game that will potentially allow players to sync their Pieces of 8. So again, we can't really talk about year 3 yet, but it's possible that in year 3 we have some new features that allow you to use your Pieces of 8.
7.
Okay, so the Corvette is coming in season 4. It's our second large ship, and then the question that player is asking: any plans to avoid large ship plotters at outposts and the dens?
So I'm gonna be honest with everybody. I didn't know there was such a big issue about large ships clutters at outpost. We don't have a plan to mitigate this at the moment, but if we see that there's a lot of players who find this annoying, it's definitely something we can look into. We'd have to look on like more on the tech side, like what are the options that we can look into to alleviate the problem.
And moving to the next question, the question was, what about the World Tier 3? Is there anything coming in year 3? Or you want to say no comment?
I
Uh-oh.
don't want to say yes specifically to World Tier 3, but there are things in the works about World Tiers in general.
Yeah. And
Uh-oh.
we'll share more information when we are ready.
Yes.
There was just a question in the chat about the more balancing patches for the future for season 4. Do you have any comments on this one?
So balancing is a tricky topic. I think a big part of our focus for balancing is making sure the new ships we introduce to the game are balanced. We don't want to deliver new ships that are completely overpowered or underpowered. We want to make sure the new ships we bring are fun to play. But then we also have a lot of things in the plans tied to the power progression to players in general. So again, I can't say much about this, but this will have a significant impact on balancing. So it's a pretty big topic. The more ships we bring, the more weapons we bring, the more equipment we bring, and the more systems we bring for you to increase your power in the game, obviously the more impact it has on overall balancing. So it has to do with how we balance out ships, weapons, equipment, but it also has to do with all the new content we bring to the game to make sure this content is challenging. The Kraken is a very good example. We want to make sure the Kraken is as hard as possible when it comes to the game, but not impossible to defeat either. So it's always about finding this fine line to make sure the content is challenging but accessible for majority of players, and making sure the new tools that we give you to defeat that content is fun to play with.
Yep. And there is a next question about, will there be an increased group size?
Yes, it's happening. Not next season, but it's happening in the future. Yes.
Okay.
Nice.
Is there any
nice.
plans to add more loadout slots?
Yes, so that's kind of what I was touching on earlier. It's not necessarily about more loadout slots, but it's potentially increasing your fleet size, and also again improving our UI, our UX, so that it's as convenient and easy as possible for you to swap loadouts whenever you want to.
Moving to the next question, have you considered improving customization or reworking on it? Can we have more character skins like the skeleton but with some variations?
So that's a very good suggestion. I don't think it's something we've heard before. We are obviously very interested in bringing more customization options to the game. We know players really enjoy customizing their ships and customizing their characters in general. So it's something we can look into for sure.
And the next question is regarding the narrative of the game. Will Freeman's story be continued in giving more depth and continuity to the story?
So again, that's part of our year 3 plans that are very much still a work in progress and can still change. But essentially, yes, we are very eager to kind of continue building on to the characters we already have in the game. We know Freeman was a big part of the storyline in year 1, not so much in year 2. So that's potentially something we'll revisit in the future for sure.
A lot of, I think, questions I'm seeing popping again and again in the chat about the outfit loadouts. Do you have... Because I think this question's popping out all the time after we introduce the ship loadouts.
Yes, it's a good question. I don't remember what's the situation on this. I will need to look into it, but I know it's something that we've discussed in the past. And if we can bring it to the game for sure, we'll look into it.
Yep. And another question that's popping out more often about the Death Tides. Any news on this one?
Yes.
What's the development status?
So Death Tides, to be fully transparent, is not going to be a top priority for us for the foreseeable future. Like I said, we wanna focus where we think our players are spending most of their time, and that's essentially in the Indian Ocean, tackling world events, acquiring new items, new weapons to the game. So we want to really focus on this core gameplay loop and bringing as much diversity to that core gameplay loop as possible. And because we are focusing on this, once again, it's going to have a significant impact on balancing overall. And we know the situation with Death Tides is that it's already quite heavily imbalanced. So at the moment, we have 2 game modes, right? We have the presets only, which is essentially what we'd recommend for most players to play if they want an experience that is as balanced as possible. We know it's still not perfectly balanced, but it's at least a little bit more balanced than the other game mode, which is essentially bring your own ship, where you have a huge variety of different loadouts possible, which makes the balancing of the game mode quite difficult. So we know those of you who are really into PvP and team-based PvP in particular are quite frustrated with the situation in Death Tides. But we feel like it's important to focus where our players are spending most of their time.
Most of the time, right.
And also, you know, like I'm reading the chat, and it's funny how when after they released the Frigate, before the people were like, when is the large ship? When is the large ship? Large ship was out. People were like, when is the small ship? Are you planning to do the small ship? And now I saw someone saying, when is the extra large ship?
So
it's really fun.
No, but that's good because it's one of the things that we've had throughout the entire year 1. In the entire year 1, every time we did a stream, it was like, when are the large ships? When are the large ships coming? And the answer is pretty much the same. We wanted to make sure that when we do bring large ships to the game, they serve a different purpose than the existing small and medium ships, that players are excited to play them, but they don't overshadow necessarily all the other ships. And I think we did a pretty good job. Like, we know there's a lot of players who are playing with the Frigate, of course, but we don't feel like a situation where everybody plays with the Frigate. And that's very much the same situation we want to keep moving forward. So we are planning to bring more large ships to the game. We are not yet planning to touch on small ships and extra large ships. But in the future, if we see a gameplay opportunity to make small ships really play a specific role in the game, for sure we wanna do that. And same thing with extra large ships. Obviously, extra large ships, I refer to the previous question where people are already worried about the clutter at pirate dens with large ships. Bringing extra large ships to the game will amplify that problem. So we need to be careful about that. So we need to do it properly.
I even see the stream, like, if one day there's an extra large ship in the game, the chat's going to be, when is XXL ship is coming?
I mean, eventually we can't just keep making them bigger. But yeah.
Okay, so moving to the next questions from the pre-collected ones. So we've kind of mentioned about the Skull and Bones tools already, that we work really closely with the Heinz. But the question was, can we put it in the game Is there any way to put the logo in it or connect the tools with the game?
So putting it directly in the game is a little bit tricky for the simple reason that it's not our work, right? It's made by a member of the committee. He's doing it 90% on his own. I want to say we are supporting him as much as we can, obviously, and we want to continue our collaboration, give him more support, giving more information ahead of time so he can update his website before the season launch, ideally. Like I said before, with Faction War, he was able to connect to our game directly to obtain some of the data from Faction War and display on the website, which is great. If there are opportunities in the future to reinforce that connection between the website and the game, we'll definitely look into it. But it's not necessarily something we are putting on top priority. I think it's a very good resource to have on a website. We love the fact that it's community driven. We don't want to like take ownership of it, but we want to support it as much as we can. Yes.
Yep. And looking at some more general questions that we had, someone asked, can we have more direct communication from developers and articles for greater transparency with the community? I think in that sense, we've already doing a lot of efforts when it comes to the transparency.
Yeah, I can say honestly, transparency has been one of our goals.
Yes.
Very much since before the launch of the game. So it's not that we don't want to be more transparent. It's more like we don't always have new information to share, and it's also like it takes a lot of time for us to process the feedback, analyze the feedback, prioritize things, and then come up with solutions with the team that we can then go back to the community. So it's not so much about not wanting to do it. We want to be as transparent as possible. If it was up to me, we'll be live every week, and we will share everything transparently. But we don't always have the solution on top of our heads. That being said, this person to my right is essentially here to help me achieve that. So the goal was always to be as transparent as possible. Now that we have two working on our efforts for transparency, you can expect more live streams, you can expect more content on social media. I think some of you might have noticed already there's a lot more videos coming out.
Yeah.
Deep dives, deep dive videos. So expect to see progressively more of these. But it's obviously a lot of work to gather that information, put it in a video format, put it out on social media, understand what works in terms of communication as well, because not everything resonates that well with the community. So it takes a bit of time to fine tune everything, but that's definitely our objective. So transparency is definitely something we want to continue working on.
Yeah, and actually during the workshop, we had a chance to present what we're doing and kind of get a feedback from them, and essentially I think it was the same. Like we want more communication. It's what you're doing is good, but if there's a more direct platforms to communicate with the developers is nice. And one of the feedback that we got also for the streams is that they want more feature-focused streams. Where we dive really deep into the either one aspect of the game. And actually, I think this is a good platform to say that next week you guys can come back to the stream at the same day, at the same time, where we're going to have a feature-focused stream diving deeper into the Kraken. So if you want more new details, make sure to come, stay tuned, and join us next week during the live. And this week, more information on the Corvette is coming as well.
Nice.
So just stay tuned with our social media.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I think if I can add something in general, don't hesitate to tell us the things you like. If you like the streams, if you like the videos, if you like the articles, tell us that's the format you want, that's the level of details you want, or maybe you want more details. It's very helpful for to know where to focus our efforts. So tell us what you like, basically.
Definitely. And I've seen there were some questions were about communication in other languages. And I also saw it in chat that someone was like, I need subtitles for non-English speaker.
Yes.
While we would like to be able to deliver in all the languages, I think we are quite limited in the resources here.
So we do have some of our content that sometimes get shared on Ubisoft regional pages. So sometimes it's Ubisoft South America, Ubisoft Spain. Sometimes they share content. So same thing. If you are a Spanish-speaking person or French-speaking person, look for the Ubisoft in your language, and whenever you see content about a game, reply and say you want more, show them that you want more content in your language, and we can collaborate more closely with those teams to make sure they receive the information from us ahead of time, and can share that information on their channel.
All right. Moving to the next questions, I think we've also seen those in the chat about the collaborations. If people want more collaborations, do you know if we? I don't think we can reveal anything. I
No.
don't think
So the trick with collaboration is, I wish we could tell you what we're
NDA
thinking
out
about,
your
what we want to
mind.
do, but because it's not 100% on us, right? We need to find the suitable partnership, and then they need to agree to work with us before we can say, hey, we're doing a collaboration. But we definitely want to do more. So same thing, if you have ideas of other games, movies, comic books, anything you'd like to see in the game because you think it fits well with the game, let us know. Don't go too crazy. We don't want to. We're not planning to add submarines or aircraft carriers. I know I've seen some comments about aircraft carriers. Absolutely not planning to do that anytime soon. But yeah, if you see other brands that you think would fit well with the game, don't hesitate to let us know.
Dude, One Piece.
I love this. Is number 7 a volcano?
There's so many words that have 7 letters, right? I was like, my clue was not really a clue, was it?
It's made it worse, actually.
Yes.
But I think last stream we were talking about the volcano, and then someone was mentioned that they actually discussed this in one of the meetings. Like, how does it appear? Does it
Yes.
like erupt from under the sea? We'll see. We'll see. All right. The next question is on the smuggler pass. Can the rewards be improved?
Can the rewards be improved on the smuggler pass? I want to say yes, but I will need a bit more specific information so we can relay
Right.
that to our designers. Like, tell us, what would you like as rewards on the smuggler pass? And then
Are
we
you
can look
saying like
into
more
the
special
speed or not.
weapons? Or
Yep. And another question:
materials?
the rewards. Can the weekly free rewards be brought back, and have something like an advent calendar for the year?
For the whole year, that's going to be a bit tricky
Yeah.
because we're very much planning our content season to season.
Yeah.
So even though we have usually a roadmap for the whole year on, like, in terms of big features and the direction we want to take, when it comes to seasonal events, seasonal rewards, that's very much planned for the season. So we can't really tell you what we're planning to give away in December 2026 because we don't know yet. But we'll try to see if we can give you a bit more visibility on what's coming in the future for sure.
Okay, so there is a very long section about the content. So
would rather it
people
be a
are asking about the
surprise.
new type of missions. Very short question.
Very short
So
question.
I'm not
but-
sure if mission means like new type of contracts, new narrative. So narrative is something we're trying to expand on with every season.
Right.
It's not necessarily like a top priority because for various reasons, right? Narrative is also a topic that is quite complex to work on. It requires a lot of work to develop a new narrative and then bring it to the game in a good quality. And it's also, unfortunately, the content that players consume the fastest. They go through the
Yeah.
story very quickly and then they go back to the usual routine of farming content. So we will continuing to look at ways to add more narrative to the game, and there will be new contracts coming with every season, of course. But to what extent, at this point, I can't say yet.
Let me see. Do you see any question that you want to specifically? Because I think we have around 6 minutes till the end of the stream.
So I know there were questions in the chat, but we scrolled through and I don't remember what they were. Will race events return? So that's a good question, actually, because that's something I brought up recently. I think so. The race events from year one, for those who remember, I think they were appreciated in general, but we also know there was a few things that people would have liked us to address. So we hope to bring them back. I think in year 3, but it's not 100% confirmed yet. And if we do bring them back, we want to make sure they come back in a format that works for everybody.
Okay, nice.
There's actually quite some questions about the ships as well that we see.
Splitting cells, hull HPR. That's a good question.
Any
So that
plans?
was a plan, I think, before the launch. I think it kind of got scrapped, essentially because as much as we think it will add a bit more realism to the game, we couldn't see a way to make it really work in a way that we were satisfied with. So I don't want to say no, maybe in the long-term future, but it's not on the roadmap at the moment.
Flying ship to counter Shadow
Flying
Beast
ship
when-
not planned at the moment. It's not a bad idea though. Maybe like one day we have a special event or game mode, maybe for Halloween, that would allow such a thing. But I don't think adding flying ships as a permanent addition to the game will be loved by everybody. Let's put
I
it that
really
way.
like the imagination and the fantasy of this chat. You give them
Yes.
7 letters and it
There's
goes.
also at least one person who keeps asking me where's my beard, and I'm a bit confused because I'm pretty sure it's still on my face. So if you can't see my beard, it's a special effect that was not planned.
Oh god. Okay, what's the next question that we have here?
Oh, plans for an anti-AFK
Yeah.
system to prevent AFKs in World War
World War.
IV. So that kind of goes back to another question we had before. We know a lot of frustration when it comes to some of the world events where you are grouped up with 6 other players comes from the fact that you can't actually make a team of 6 players. And I think the AFK situation is a very good example that you have people who join in and just go AFK while other people do the work essentially. So we are looking at extending the group size in the future, which hopefully will reduce the level of frustration. Like if you can make your team of 6 people, then hopefully everybody in your team, because you know them, because they're your friends, they will all contribute and not go AFK.
Oh, that would be
halfway through the
sick.
fight. We have Lily White who keeps asking about a brick rework and crane removal. So that's, I think, something I don't remember if we shared that during the workshop. I know it's something we discussed internally for sure. We are looking into it. It won't be a full removal, as in suddenly your brig doesn't have the crane, because we know some players actually like it. But it's more like we want to look into options for you to hide elements of your ship that you don't like in the future. I can't say yet when it will come, but it's something we are looking into, yes.
I see the question from the pre-collected about the bug fixes, and I think it's a good chance for us to also like give a little bit of behind the scenes.
Yes.
So the question was, how do you prioritize which bugs get fixed first?
So there's 2 things. There's a prioritization that happens on like which bugs do we look at first, and that's essentially the amount of upvotes we get on the bug reporter, and how critical those bugs are, right? Like for example, if we get a lot of people reporting a UI bug because the text font is a little bit off, we might understand that it's a lot of people reporting it, but we don't consider that highly critical because it doesn't necessarily break the game or impact your gameplay experience that much. However, if it's a bug that is reported by a lot of players and it causes the game to crash completely, obviously that's going to be super top priority. We don't want the game to crash when people are playing. So it's a matter of like how many people are upvoting the issue so that we can really get our attention onto it, and then how critical it is. And then when it comes to actually fixing the bug, it's more a question of like how easy it is to fix. So we prioritize in terms of like, okay, we need to focus on these bugs first. But then there's certain bugs that are very hard for us to replicate internally. Some bugs happen only on the live servers, which makes it then super hard for us to identify the source of and then fix. So that's why sometimes, even though some bugs are high priority and affect a lot of people, they take a bit of time to get fixed because they're not as simple to fix as they might seem.
All right, I think we're around 2 minutes left till this end of stream, and I want to ask Neo, how are you doing? Well, your first stream.
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Chad, do we want Neo for the next stream?
Yeah, how do we feel about Neo's gameplay?
All right, and I think before we wrap it up, Alexia, do you have anything to say before the new season launch? Any words to the community?
No, I'm just super excited to see how people react to the Corvette. I think it's going to be a very exciting ship. I know a lot of people are looking forward to it because technically it's already in the game. It's just not playable yet. I think it's a very good-looking ship. So I hope everybody loves it. I can't wait to get it myself. And then I can't wait to see how people handle the Kraken. Again, the Kraken I think it's going to be quite impressive from a visual standpoint. We put a lot of effort into making it really stand out compared to all the other sea monsters we have in the game. We also want to make sure it's a big challenge. So if you get frustrated the first couple of times you fight against the Kraken, don't give up. I think it will take a bit of time for you to learn all the right moves and how to handle it properly. Hopefully it is a challenge. I really hope you don't defeat it the first time you try. But yeah, let us know how you feel about all of this when it comes out. And yeah, looking forward to seeing all of you in game very soon.
Yep. And join us again for the next week's stream. We'll be excited to see you. I don't think Alexi will be there, but it's going to be me and one of the
Yes,
devs.
I won't be there on the next one. Sorry.
So anytime you want to see Alexi, just please keep spamming the chat so I have a proof to Alexi that people want him back. And otherwise, I think thank you so much for joining. We had a great time, and we hope that you guys had too. The stream will be running a bit for you guys to claim the drops for those who haven't. But for now, I think it's time for us to say bye.
One last thing. There's a
yes.
comment here that I agree with.
Which one?
Everybody should try to solo the Kraken on the door.
Oh wow.
First one to solo the Kraken on the door, I'll send a personal message with a reward.
All right, and we have a shout
Somebody
out
clip
on
that.
social media if that person exists.
Somebody, yes.
All
Somebody
right.
clip that.
Thank you.
Cool.
See you soon.
Thank you so much. Bye bye, guys.
Bye.
Somebody clip that. That was a W of the day. W. Now I think I'm gonna play offline. I think that was a W. I'm gonna play offline for a little bit, and then I'm going to bed so I can get up in the morning and play. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.